All right, we've got this equation here. We're going to be taking the derivative of it. We want to find dy over dx. And so we're going to be using the quotient rule. All right, so it's pretty simple. Just follow this along. We got to x, you take the derivative of the numerator first. And derivative of x is 1. And then we rewrite the denominator minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. So the derivative of y squared, you bring the 2, bring it out front, rewriting y, and now remember we have to tack a dy over dx on right next to the y here. So every time we take the derivative of y, we got to write dy dx next to it. And then the denominator squared, so y squared squared. And of course the derivative of 10 is 0. So now we are going to be doing algebra, and that is we want to simplify this stuff down, solve for dy over dx. Okay, here's our next step down here. Now you notice you're probably going, what happened to the y to the fourth, right? Because this would be y to the fourth here. Multiply exponents. 2 times 2 is 4, y to the fourth. What happened to it? Well, if I multiply both sides by y to the fourth, right, I'm multiplying this side, I'm putting a y to the fourth over here on this side so I can get this guy to cancel out, right? Y to the fourth up here, y to the fourth down here, they're going to cancel out. But y to the fourth times 0 is 0. So that's what happened to the y to the fourth. And of course 1 times y squared is just y squared. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this y squared, bring it over to the right hand side, becomes negative. And then multiply both sides by 1 over negative 2xy. In other words, you're multiplying both sides by the reciprocal. I just kind of think of it as like moving a chess piece, just taking this and moving it diagonally down over here. All right, and then of course we want to simplify this down. And we've got a y down here in the denominator, 2 of them up here, so we're going to cancel one of those out. And of course, if you have a negative over negative, right, that's going to cancel out to be positive. And it looks like this is going to be the derivative. All right. Okay, let's look at another one. All right, we have y squared is equal to x cubed. And we want to find dy over dx. And but I guess our ultimate goal here is we want to find the second derivative. I want to find the second derivative. So I just kind of threw this in here to kind of show you how to find the second derivative using implicit differentiation. But first thing we want to do is find dy over dx. Now, instead of writing dy over dx, I'm just going to write y prime because it's just a whole lot easier to write y prime than it is to write dy over dx. All right, well, let's get started. So the derivative of y squared, you bring the 2 out front, rewrite the y, and then times, now the previous problem I wrote dy dx here, but remember I was saying, hey, let's let it just be y prime. So here's a y prime. So remember you got to tack a y prime on right after you take the derivative of y. And of course the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared. Now we want to solve for y prime in this problem, so we're going to take the 2y, just bring it diagonally down, and there we go. But we got to take the second derivative. In other words, y double prime. Okay, so since we've got this fraction up here, what we want to do is use the quotient rule. So we're going to take the derivative of the numerator, so the derivative of 3x squared is 6x times the denominator, right, the denominator here, minus the numerator times the derivative of the denominator. Now the derivative of 2y is just 2, but remember we got to tack on a y prime over here to the right. Don't forget that now. And it's all over the denominator squared. Now what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to simplify this down as much as we can, and we got to do something with this y prime. Well, y prime, remember, was 3x squared over 2y. So I'm going to substitute that in for the y prime, as you can see here. And then what we're going to do is I'm multiplying this stuff out. Let's see, we've got a 2 up here, 2 down here, so they're going to cancel out. So that's going to give us 3 times 3, which is 9, and x squared times x squared is to the fourth. Now what I'm going to want to do here is get a common denominator, simplify this down into one single fraction. So what I'm going to do, since I've got a y down here, I'm going to put a y over y. All right, now we have common denominator. So we end up with 12x y squared minus 9x to the fourth over y. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to drop this completely down, because we can do that, and that's just going to give us 4y cubed.